Hey y'all, it's Andrea over at Sewspire.com, and today I am here to show you how to sew a super sweet shoulder bag. This one I used some recycled denim for the flap and a really pretty floral for the back. I think this would make a great summer look, but I designed this particular bag so that it would be large enough to hold my journal or dot planner that I'm going to use for 2019. So this size and style is just perfect for that. It is a quick, fun sew, and it is our last project for 2018. So shall we get started? We're going to begin with an interior center pocket, which is crafted from one continuous cut of fabric that measures 9.5 by 41 inches long. First, you're going to fold that material in half with the pretty sides facing out, and then take that top edge and fold that over approximately 3/4 of an inch on both ends, and you're just going to stitch those 4 pieces of material together. And on the opposite end, which is just folded in only 2-ply, just go ahead and stitch across that to create a little detail on the top of that pocket. Now both ends of your pocket have the top stitching and are finished. So now you fold that in half and set it aside for just a moment. Your interior body panels measure 10 inches wide by 28 inches long, and that is also one continuous cut of fabric. So you're going to mark center on that and then bring over that folded pocket panel and go ahead and center that. It is slightly smaller on purpose, so I want you from center of the interior body panel. So from center of the interior body panel, you are going to position that interior pocket panel 2 inches up, and then it should be 2 inches from the top. And go ahead and pin that right in the center there to hold all of those layers. And then I'm going to turn mine sideways so you can see. You're going to lift up that interior panel and bring it over to meet on that larger edge. And this is only about 1/4 inch larger. And then go ahead and bring your top panel down and line that all up. And then you can pin all of those layers together. And then turn that over, and on the opposite side you're going to do the same thing. You're just interested in lining up all of those layers. Okay, and then that definitely gives you a little extra here in the middle, which is fine because we need that to create the depth at the bottom. And that's why this panel is crafted larger than that interior. So now we're going to go ahead and stitch down both sides using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. We're just stitching down those sides, and we're capturing the interior pocket panel and both sides of the interior body. Then go back in. That's a lot of layers that we have there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. Make sure you see all 6 layers in there. And that's why we're not using any kind of batting or pellon here, because this is already a lot of layers. So now when you look inside of there, you can see your compartment. So you have your center pocket, which is slightly more shallow. And then on either side of that, you will be able to put your contents. Now what we want to do is reach in and give this bag a little depth. So we're going to do that by fashioning a fat corner just below that interior panel, that center panel, so I can feel that right there. So I'm going to be able to stitch across this base 3 inches. And you just want that side seam to fall right at center and then stitch across there 3 inches. Process for the other side. You are not capturing that center compartment in this stitch. So make sure you're coming in right below that center compartment, which you can feel with your hand. And then after you get those corners fashioned, just look in there and make sure that that center compartment is still free floating, and mine is. And then you can take your scissors and cut off to the right of that stitch line. And now the interior is done. You just want to fold over that top edge a 1/2 inch. And then you can see in there the various compartments and divider. The shimmery fabric is very pretty. So I'm just going to set aside that interior for a moment. And the exterior is crafted from 2 pieces of material which measure 10 inches wide by 14 inches tall. I have a twill in a red here, or a duck canvas in a red. I do have 1 layer of quilt batting on that. And then I have a quilt weight cotton print here, these gorgeous poppies, also with a layer of quilt batting. And the exterior comes together in the same way as the interior body did. We're going to position those panels together, right sides facing, stitch down the sides, and then we're going to have to stitch across the base. And then we're going to fashion the 3-inch corners. For this, I am also using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Stitched around 3 sides. I've left that top open. I do want to trim off all of the excess material on the sides and the base. I'm going to reach inside of there and align that side seam with the base seam to create that 3-inch corner. You can mark that if you like. I'm just going to crease that with my finger and then repeat the same process for the other corner. Check to make sure that your corners are even, and if they aren't, go ahead and true those up. And then once they're even, you can trim off to the right of your stitch line. And then because this is the exterior, I'm going to turn that right side out. And I love the two-tone look. That's a lot of fun. And you're going to take that top edge and fold that inward. It's about 3/4 of an inch. And then go ahead and pin that all in place. set the exterior aside. And we're going to craft the flap, which measures 8.5 inches across by 14 inches long. And for this, I am using a recycled piece of denim that I cut off of a pair of jeans, and then one piece of quilt weight cotton material. So I'm going to position those right sides facing. I want to stitch down the long edges and across the base, leaving the top open to turn using the same 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Go ahead and just clip those corners at an angle so that you reduce the bulk. And then turn this right side out and press nice and flat. Okay, and this is what my flap looks like after it's pressed. This is going to be the exterior and this is the interior. I do not want to see any top stitching on this flap. If I were using the cotton as the exterior, I would go ahead and top stitch that. But in this case, I don't want to compete with that contrasting thread that runs down the seam of the denim, so no top stitching for me. Now I want to go ahead and install the magnetic snap closure, one portion of that at center, approximately 1.5 inches up from the base of this flap, and I'm going to use the larger portion or the female portion of that magnetic snap. The magnetic snaps come with this little back plate, so I'm just going to find center on here and then mark center. And then using a seam ripper, I'm going to reach inside of there and only cut little holes where those marks are. So now I have 2 little holes in there which I can position the brads of the magnetic snap through. You do have to turn that back around, and then those prongs come right through and you can position that back plate on there. I like to use a marker, the end of that, to close those up, and I just fold them in on each other. And then that female portion of the magnetic snap is installed. I'm going to go ahead and press around that one more time because I wrinkled it when I turned it. Okay, and now the flap is complete. I want to bring back over the exterior, and I think I want to put these flowers on the front of the bag, but the red and the denim looks super cute. So I think I'm going to switch and have the red and the denim as the front of the bag and then the floral on the back of the bag. So what I want to do, the base of the bag here is facing you, and I'm going to center the flap on there about 2 inches up from that center base mark. And I just want to get an idea of where I should install the remaining portion of the magnetic snap. So I can feel that there. I'm just going to come under and lay the backing on this exterior, and then using my marker, I'm going to mark those 2 points at which I should cut this. You can see that better on the red. And then I'm going to reach inside of there and just make a cut through that duck and that batting. to position that male portion of the magnetic snap in there, and on this one it's stamped USA, so I'm going to turn that so it's right side up. Usually it's numbers on there and it wouldn't matter, but that would bother me that it was upside down. So I'm going to put that in there and then bring this out where I can see and install that back plate in the same way using the marker. And now the magnetic snap has been installed, so I can bring over the interior and fit that inside of this exterior. I want to line up those side seams first. And then I can move to the center. Okay, now when you're fitting this interior, you have to make sure that you have enough room here when you're top stitching to clear that interior pocket. So I have a 1/2 inch, which will be plenty because I'm going to top stitch with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, but just make sure that you're going to clear that pocket. My interior has been positioned inside of the exterior now. I want to bring back over that flap. Go ahead and secure that to the front and then put the flap facing down and remove those pins in the back so that you know how much slack you have on the flap, and you can fit that in between those rear, interior, and exterior layers. And then go ahead and reach in the sides and secure the edges with pins, and then you can unsnap that and put a pin in the center. Okay, the exterior, interior, and flap are in place. Now we just need to craft the two-tone strap. And this one is a little longer than the first one that I made, and it's going to measure 34 inches long by 2 inches wide. And I have 2 pieces of material. I have one that's the cotton duck in a solid, and then one that is a twill in a stripe. And I position those right sides facing, stitch down both long edges with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and leave the short edges open to turn. I've stitched down both long edges. Now I want to trim away all the excess and then turn this right side out and press it flat. Okay, and now I have my two-tone skinny strap. I want to top stitch down both long edges of that to finish. And then the strap is complete. Then bring over the bag and you're going to position the strap at the sides between the interior and exterior. And I just center that right with the seam. And then the last thing left to do is to stitch all the way around that perimeter of the bag and secure the flap, the interior, the exterior, and the strap. The easiest way to do that is to remove this machine deck. Position the bag on top of the skinny arm, and I like to begin at the side. Remember, don't use too wide of a seam allowance because you don't want to catch that center pocket. So I'm going to stick with the 3/8 of an inch. Just move all the way around that nice and slow, and then reinforcing the handles with a backstitch. And the bag is complete. I think this is super sweet, and I really like the shape of this bag. This one in particular, these fabrics would be a lot of fun for summer. I made another one earlier today that is more of winter colors, and I'm going to grab that and show it to you. I really like this one as well. The black and the cream is just stunning. For this one, I used a pre-quilted fabric that offered this style a lot of body. So I highly recommend that for the exterior, and then the flap and the interior were crafted from a quilt weight cotton fabric. But you can see the difference between the two. It's amazing how your fabric selection really creates the style and the flair of the bag. So I hope you enjoyed the project. This is our last project for 2018. I can hardly believe it. It's been a fabulous year. We have made some really great bags and organizers. I hope that you have enjoyed the projects to date. If you haven't yet, please do click like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. I want to wish all of you a very happy new year, and I will see you the first week of 2019 for another inspired project. As always, please know the creative genius in me will be celebrating the creative genius in you. Happy New Year!